On that cold February night in 1964, in the locker room of Miami Beach Convention Hall, a young boxer stared at himself in the mirror. He was 22 years old, and the world didn't know him yet, but he knew himself. I'm so fast I can turn off the light switch in my hotel room and be in bed before the room is dark. When reporters heard this, they laughed. Some called him crazy, others said he was all talk, but Cassius Clay, he hadn't taken the name Muhammad Ali yet, just smiled. Because that night, in just a few hours, he would face the most feared man on the planet, Sonny Liston. And that night, in just 2 minutes, everyone would understand what he meant. The story actually began years earlier. In the poor neighborhoods of Louisville, Kentucky, young Cassius was a boy who had his bicycle stolen. He was 12 years old and went to police officer Joe Martin in tears. "I'm gonna whoop whoever stole my bike," he said angrily. Joe Martin, who also coached boxing at Columbia Gym, looked at the boy and said, "You better learn how to fight before you start challenging people." That moment changed everything. Young Cassius started training 6 days a week. Every morning before school, every evening after school, while other kids played, he was in the gym. While others slept, he ran through the dark streets of Louisville. But there was something different about this boy. He wasn't just training his body, he was training his mind. "I hated every minute of training," he would later say, "but I said, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion." His speed wasn't natural. It was built, brick by brick, hour by hour, punch by punch. By age 18, Cassius Clay had won a gold medal at the 1960 Rome Olympics. He returned to America not just as a champion, but as a young man who had discovered something profound. Speed wasn't just about moving fast. It was about thinking fast, living fast, being ahead of everyone else, in body, in mind, in spirit. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. The hands can't hit what the eyes can't see. This wasn't just a catchy phrase. This was a philosophy, a way of life, a declaration of war against everything slow, predictable, and ordinary. But the world wasn't ready for what was coming. Sonny Liston was a nightmare made flesh. 6'1", 218 pounds of pure intimidation. He had fists like sledgehammers and a stare that made grown men look away. He was the heavyweight champion of the world, and he destroyed opponents like they were made of paper. Before Liston, there was Floyd Patterson. Liston knocked him out in the first round. They had a rematch. Liston knocked him out again in the first round. Nobody wanted to face Sonny Liston. Nobody except Cassius Clay. The weigh-in before the fight was chaos. Clay arrived screaming, shouting, acting like a madman. His pulse was racing at 120 beats per minute, nearly twice his normal rate. The boxing commission almost canceled the fight, thinking he was having a psychological breakdown, but it was all an act, a calculated performance. Clay was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. "I'm gonna float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Sonny Liston ain't gonna know what hit him. I'm too fast, too pretty, too young." Liston just sat there, cold and silent, like a predator watching prey. The betting odds were 7-1 in his favor. Some bookmakers wouldn't even take bets on Clay winning. It was considered a guaranteed loss. Even Clay's own trainer, Angelo Dundee, had doubts. Even Malcolm X, who came to support him, feared for his life. But Clay knew something nobody else did. He had seen the future, and in that future, speed would defeat power. February 25, 1964, 10 o'clock p.m. The bell rang. What happened next would change boxing forever. Clay didn't fight the way anyone expected. He didn't circle cautiously. He didn't wait for openings. He attacked immediately, but not with power, with speed. He danced. He moved, he jabbed and retreated before Liston could blink. In the first round, Clay threw 21 punches. Liston threw 12. But here's what was remarkable. Liston, the terrifying champion who had destroyed every opponent, landed only one punch in the entire first round. Clay was moving so fast that Liston was punching air. The champion's massive power meant nothing if he couldn't touch his target. By the end of the second minute, Liston's face showed something nobody had ever seen before. Confusion, frustration, doubt. The crowd was stunned. This wasn't supposed to happen. The young, loud-mouthed kid from Louisville was making the most feared man in boxing look slow, old. Beatable. Clay leaned back from punches with inches to spare. He slipped left, slipped right, bounced on his toes like he was dancing at a nightclub. His hands were down by his waist, a violation of every boxing rule, but it didn't matter. Liston couldn't hit him anyway. "Look at that speed," the commentators screamed. "I've never seen anything like this." But speed wasn't just physical, it was psychological. In the third round, Clay started talking. Right there in the middle of the fight, while dodging punches, he was having a conversation. "You ain't got nothing. You're too slow. You're old. Come on, sucker." Liston, a man who had intimidated everyone he'd ever faced, was being mocked, humiliated, outclassed. The champion's corner was panicking. His trainer, Willie Reddish, kept shouting instructions, but Liston couldn't execute them. How do you fight someone you can't touch? By the fourth round, something strange happened. A substance, possibly from Liston's gloves, meant to close cuts, got into Clay's eyes. He couldn't see clearly. He was essentially fighting blind. Angela Dundee wanted to stop the fight. Clay refused. "Cut the gloves off," he screamed. "I'm not quitting." Dundee washed his eyes and pushed him back into the ring. For an entire round, Clay fought on instinct alone, keeping Liston at bay with his jab, relying purely on speed and reflexes. Imagine that. Fighting the most dangerous man in the world while nearly blind, and still winning. By the 6th round, Liston was broken. Not just physically, mentally. His shoulder was injured. His spirit was crushed. This young, fast, crazy kid had done the impossible. When the bell rang for the 7th round, Sonny Liston stayed on his stool. He quit. The heavyweight champion of the world quit. Cassius Clay exploded from his corner, arms raised, screaming at the top of his lungs, "I am the greatest. I shook up the world. I'm the king of the world. I'm a bad man. I shook up the world." The crowd was in shock. Reporters scrambled. Cameras flashed. History had just been rewritten. That night, a 22-year-old kid who everyone said talked too much had defeated fear itself. Not with bigger muscles. Not with harder punches. With speed. With strategy. With belief. After the fight, reporters surrounded him. They wanted to know his secret. How did he do it? Clay, who would soon announce his conversion to Islam and take the name Muhammad Ali, didn't talk about training regimens or boxing techniques. He talked about philosophy. "I said I was the fastest thing on 2 feet, and I proved it. But speed isn't just in your legs or your hands. It's in your mind. You gotta think fast. You gotta see the punch before it's thrown. You gotta be where your opponent ain't." He paused, that famous smile spreading across his face. "When I said I could turn off the light and be in bed before it gets dark, people thought I was joking. But I was telling the truth, because I'm always ahead. Ahead of my opponent. Ahead of expectations. Ahead of limitations." This wasn't arrogance. This was self-knowledge. This was a young man who understood something profound. That speed in thinking, in movement, in living, was the ultimate weapon. But Ali's speed philosophy went beyond boxing. It became his approach to life. When the Vietnam War draft came, and the government ordered him to fight, Ali moved fast with his decision. While others hesitated or deliberated, he immediately said, "I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong. No Viet Cong ever called me nigger." That decision cost him everything. His title, his license, his prime years as a fighter. But he made it fast because his principles were clear. When racial injustice threatened to break his spirit, he moved faster than hate. He spoke out. He inspired. He led. "Service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth," he said. And he paid that rent with speed, helping people quickly, speaking truth immediately, never waiting for the right time to do what was right. What made Ali's speed different from others? Experts have studied this for decades. His footwork was revolutionary. Traditional heavyweights planted their feet and threw power punches. Ali stayed on his toes constantly, moving in angles that confused opponents. He didn't move in circles, he moved in unpredictable patterns. His hand speed was measured at 12 to 13 punches per second at his peak. That's faster than most lightweight fighters, despite being a heavyweight. But the real secret was his timing. Ali didn't just move fast, he moved at the right moment. He would lean back from a punch by exactly the amount needed. Not too much, not too little. This preserved his energy while making opponents exhaust themselves. "Champions aren't made in gyms," Ali explained. "Champions are made from something they have deep inside them. A desire, a dream, a vision. They have to have the skill and the will. But the will must be stronger than the skill. The will to be fast. The will to think ahead. The will to never be caught." Ali's speed philosophy was tested again and again throughout his career, against George Foreman in 1974. The Rumble in the Jungle, Ali was 32 years old, past his prime. Foreman was younger, stronger, hitting harder than anyone in boxing history. The odds were against Ali again. Everyone expected him to use speed and movement. Instead, Ali did something shocking. He leaned against the ropes and let Foreman punch him. The rope-a-dope strategy looked like suicide, but it was mental speed. Ali thought faster than everyone else. He realized that Foreman, despite his power, would exhaust himself. So Ali used speed of mind instead of speed of body. By the 8th round, Foreman was so tired he could barely lift his arms. Ali struck with a combination and Foreman fell like a giant tree. The fastest thinking beats the hardest hitting. Against Joe Frazier in their 3 fights, Ali learned that speed alone wasn't always enough. Frazier was relentless, constantly pressing forward. Their fights were wars of attrition. But even in defeat, like in their first fight in 1971, Ali's speed philosophy evolved. He learned that speed must adapt, that being fast doesn't mean being reckless. That strategy must change based on the opponent. Their third fight, the Thrilla in Manila in 1975, was perhaps the greatest boxing match ever. Both men pushed beyond human limits. Ali's speed was no longer just physical, it was spiritual. It was the speed of will refusing to quit. But speed came with a price. Years of being hit, even when dodging most punches accumulated. By the 1980s, Ali's movements slowed. His speech became slurred. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, likely caused by repeated head trauma. The man who was once the fastest was now moving in slow, Motion. In 1996, at the Atlanta Olympics, Ali was chosen to light the Olympic flame. When he appeared, the world gasped. His hands shook violently. His movements were stiff. The flame trembled as he held the torch. But something remarkable happened. As billions watched, Ali steadied himself. With shaking hands, he raised that torch and lit the Olympic cauldron. Even in slowness, there was speed of spirit. The crowd erupted. Tears flowed. Because in that moment, everyone understood. Ali's speed wasn't just about boxing, it was about courage, about moving forward despite obstacles, about being faster than your circumstances. Before Ali died in 2016, he left behind more than boxing records. He left behind a philosophy that transforms sports, culture, and consciousness. Don't count the days, he once said. Make the days count. That's speed thinking, not wasting time, not waiting for permission, moving fast toward your purpose. His influence spread far beyond the ring. Athletes across all sports adopted his movement principles. Basketball players like Allen Iverson studied his footwork. Football players analyzed his ability to read and react faster than opponents. Activists learned from his speed of conviction. When you know you're right, move fast. Don't wait for everyone to catch up. Young people around the world memorized his quotes. Not because they were clever, but because they were true. Impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it. That's the speed of possibility. Moving faster than doubt. Running ahead of fear. So what did Ali really mean when he said he could turn off the light and be in bed before it got dark? It was never about actual speed. It was about perception, about being so good, so prepared, so ahead of the moment that you seem to defy reality itself. It was about confidence that borders uncertainty. When you've done the work, the thousands of hours in the gym, the miles run in darkness, the sacrifices made when no one was watching, you earn the right to believe in the impossible. It was about living without hesitation. When opportunity appears, fast thinkers seize it immediately. Slow thinkers debate, deliberate, and ultimately miss it. It was about being memorable. In a world of ordinary people saying ordinary things, Ali said extraordinary things, and then backed them up. That's why we still talk about him today, late in his life. Despite his illness, Ali continued teaching his philosophy. A reporter once asked him, "What made you different from other great boxers?" Ali thought for a long moment, his hands trembling, and said, "I believed when they doubted. I moved when they froze. I spoke when they were silent. I wasn't just faster with my hands. I was faster with my truth." That's the real secret. Speed isn't just physical velocity. It's the velocity of purpose. How fast you move toward what matters. How quickly you stand up for what's right. How rapidly you seize your moment. Young fighters today still study Ali's techniques. But the best ones understand. They're not learning how to punch faster. They're learning how to think faster, live faster, believe faster. On that February night in 1964, when young Cassius Clay said he could turn off the light and be in bed before the room went dark, he was making a promise to himself and the world. 2 minutes into his fight with Sonny Liston, he kept that promise. He moved so fast, thought so fast, believed so fast that he made the impossible look easy. But the real story isn't about a boxing match. It's about a philosophy that changed millions of lives. It's about the kid who's afraid to start, who thinks he's too slow, too small, too unprepared. Ali's message to that kid: start anyway. Move fast. The darkness is coming, but you can beat it if you move with purpose. It's about the person facing an impossible challenge, a giant opponent, a mountain too high to climb. Ali's message: think fast. Strategy beats strength. Speed of mind defeats size of obstacle. It's about anyone who's been told they talk too much, dream too big, believe too boldly. Ali's message: prove them wrong. Not with words, but with speed. Speed of action. Speed of excellence. The speed of undeniable results. The light switch is there. The darkness is coming. But you, like Ali, have a choice. You can move slow, overthink, hesitate, and let the darkness catch you. Or you can move so fast, believe so fully, and act so decisively that you're already where you need to be before anyone realizes what happened. That's not just boxing. That's not just sports. That's life itself. Muhammad Ali turned off the light and made it to bed before it got dark. Not because it was physically possible, but because he decided it was. And in that decision, in that belief, in that speed of spirit, he became immortal. I'm so fast I can turn off the light and be in bed before it's dark. Everyone laughed when he said it. Nobody's laughing now. They're all trying to learn how he did it. The answer is simple but not easy. Be faster than your excuses. Move quicker than your doubts. Think ahead of your fears, and when everyone says it's impossible, prove them wrong in 2 minutes, just like Ali did.